the advancement of this district and the benefit of all of our community and fellow citizens. And the Coorong District Council acknowledge and pay respects to the Nurrunjeri people, traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. Pay respect to all Australians who have made and continue to make a positive contribution to our culture and way of life in this country, live in and share together, Australia. Thank you. First item is apologies. Councillor Peach, as we know, is an apology, and Councillor Rountree is as of the last special meeting in this, while he is on leave, the acting Deputy Mayor. Acknowledgement. Just acknowledge Rob's sitting in the C&C chair today. So welcome, Rob, to the front of the room. No more hiding. Acknowledgements. Passing of Geraldine Dixon to Councillor either Qualman and Maidment together or whatever. Just a brief. Racy, please.
I've been given the job. Thank you.
You've been given the job.
So I'm happy to do that by all means. So I acknowledge the passing of Tailem Bend resident Geraldine Dixon, who passed on the 24th of March 2025, and she was aged 83 years. Geraldine and her husband Peter were both active community members. Geraldine was involved with many of the local sporting clubs, including the netball, tennis and rowing clubs. She was also very involved with the Tailem Bend Community Centre, as well as being an avid historian, and I can vouch for that, I admit. Geraldine was also a Coorong District Council elected member from 2003 till 2006. And on a personal note, the Dixon and Gooden families were intertwined quite heavily. We're very good friends with each other for a long time. And Geraldine and my mum used to make pasties as a fundraiser for the hospital, to build the new hospital. So, and one of my brothers and one of her sons are still best friends to this day. So there is quite a connection, and her funeral was well attended and it was a lovely celebration of life.
So thank you for that lovely rendition. Councillor Qualman, you want to speak about the same subject, I presume?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, and thank you to Councillor Maidment. She's done a comprehensive acknowledgement there. Thank you. I just want to say a comment. It is that we all knew Peter, her husband, was into everything. I mean, that many committees, it was unbelievable. And he actually ran for state government. And I just take my hat off to her, how she could put up with Pete's busy life and still attend and commit all her time to volunteering and doing so much for the committee, sorry. So yes, she will be sadly missed, and it's a real appreciation of a woman dedicated just as much as Pete was. So yes, it was a sad passing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other people? No. Item 3, declaration of conflict of interest. Does any members have any conflicts of interest to declare? None. I'll move on to confirmation of minutes. Item 4 of the ordinary meeting, including the confidentials on the 18th of March. Councillor Qualman, you're moving that way. Is there a seconder? Councillor Rountree. Any discussion? Being not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Also, there's a minutes of the special meeting, including the confidential minutes held on the 1st of April 2025. Someone move that way, please. Councillor Bland. A seconder. Councillor O'Hara. Any discussion? Being none, put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously as well. Item 5 is adjourned business, which we have nil. Item 6 is the Mayor's report. Questions? Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Maybe for information to the community, if you would just give your feedback from on the 25th when we went to the composting landfill recycling tour. What did you think of that?
A very enlightening day, councillor. So we visited the Brinkley site at Murray Bridge, where our general digestible waste goes at the moment, and on to, it's not Jeffries, it's the other group. Pete's. Not far away, over the bit further to the west, to see how all our composting material is being composted. I think the take-home lesson is keep your plastic out of the composting, please. But no, very informative for us, as majority of us were on that tour, to understand cost bases and how it is handled. And also, I think at Pete's, that's where our recycling waste goes at the moment, as a transfer station too. We did see that. So, yeah, I think there was an excellent day where I understand they were the first council of the 8 in this region to do it as well. So, so that I might just focus on a couple of things. That excellent organisation by our staff, but also by the community for the Volunteer Expo. The photo in the agenda, it shows an enormous amount of people that volunteer in this community, and it was a lovely morning, as all the weather is at the moment, of course, lovely, but it was a lovely morning there at that. You'll note that I'm spending considerable amount of time as my role as LGA's delegate to the Drought Advisory Group, but also working up some proposals within the LGA that have got some traction with the SAROC committee and the LGA board around how we can help basically country councils with cash flow in the next 12 or 24 months, given the dry season, or the drought, if some people might want to use that word, will continue, but the cash flow ramifications for country councils that have the highest country councils exposures, nearly 80% of their rates come from rural people. So if people cannot pay, what happens to that? So we're working on a proposal at the moment in that area. Tour de Cure was the dinner. That was very amusing. They're very into their cycling, that particular group. I haven't heard the footy results from the weekend. Is the Coorong Cats up and beating everyone again, Councillor O'Hara? Yeah. Well, that makes me feel better since I haven't heard yet. We are continuing to work. We had a meeting with the Minister last week of Health around Country Health Connect. I probably will say no more at this stage. I'm looking for a path forward with that one, I think it'd be fair to say.
Does it look positive through you, Mayor?
No, not what we might want. Doesn't look positive, but we need to do a little bit more work. That was only late last week on where we're heading with that stage. The last thing, just as a sort of a public thing, I'd encourage everyone to come and look at this in our gallery here, or in our chamber and gallery. This historic thing is very informative, extremely useful, and you know, it's really worth everyone getting a chance in the next week or two to zip in here before we inevitably pull it down again. But yep. All right. Councillor Arthur, your report's there. Anything you want to add?
No, I just might mention that just received an email regarding a wild dog situation that's starting to worsen already. As I don't know, in Victoria, in the northeastern section of Victoria, dingoes or wild dogs are protected. So even if they're attacking your sheep, you're not allowed to shoot them. And unfortunately, they don't know where the border ends, so they're coming over our side.
Through you, Mayor, are they still protected on our side?
No. That's what the Wild Dog Committee is about. It's been going. Probably one of the best run committees for with you've got local government, state governments of both sides are involved with it, and a division of PIRSA. It's been very successful, but they have got trappers down there at the present moment.
So through you, Mayor, I have a question on that I had read somewhere about a dingo breeding facility that was uncovered during the recent fires on the Victorian side. Do you know, was there much more said about that?
But it's always been
a breeding facility.
It's always been one section in the Little Desert National Park where they have been protected.
Okay.
But they used to bait very heavily around it to stop them coming out. But now it's state government will be are fully protected in that area. Now that looks like in the Alpine area they're going to be protected too. So even though they aren't dingoes, the closest they've got is a DNA as of 70%. So it's a problem for with all the sheep people up in that area. And apart from that, no, I've got nothing else, sir.
Any questions? I forgot, we should mention last Friday night, the Kick Off Your Boots presentation at Tintinara, which Councillor Peach probably organised. There was a couple of local singers. One of them looked remarkably like James Taylor, but and sung like it, I might add, but apparently he's married to Councillor Roundtree. But it was really a very, what's the right word, amusing.
Oh, funny.
Funny.
And I think the thing that came out from all of it is like Jim and I came home and thought we were very common in our conversations, while we thought we were quite unique in the things that we were experiencing. Everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone's having the same conversations. The distance issues are there for everybody. The succession issues are there for everybody. And I think they talked a lot about, and I think that's what everyone got out of it, was just realizing that the conversations that people have in families on farms, everyone's having them everywhere, and you're not alone, and everyone's doing it. And the way they delivered that with such humor and one-liners was such a very well-written show, and I'd love to see that get everywhere, because it was such a conversation starter. And even my son, who's only 30, he came along and he could relate to, you know, looking for the 10-inch spanners and those sorts of things.
10 mil.
It was just
10 inch would be a big sparrow.
10-inch, whatever it is. I don't even know spanners, right? But he laughed at those things.
Well,
and
it's dead
the
right, they're never
conversation,
where you want them.
never where you want them, and dealing with dads on farms. So I think the writer, at the end, the guy who spoke about it, the GP,
GP, yeah.
he was brilliant. And his way of getting through to people was through this play and through humour and conversations. And honestly, it's one of the best things I've seen all year. Really
So it was a
good.
lovely show, and I commend the community for ongoing work around getting communities together in this interesting times, I suppose. No other councillors got anything urgent to report by the look of it? Move to 7, petitions, which I have nil. 8 is deputations, which we have none. Number 9, unless Ben, your public question time, we have none. 10.1 is decision reports, councillors. Change of meeting date in June. Do you want a quick explanation, or do you understand what we're doing? Can I move that way, councillor Roundtree?
It was Councillor Bland.
I thought she said she didn't want an explanation. You want to be second to that?
Had my hand up and said we don't need an explanation.
She didn't
She
move
said-
it. She just didn't want an explanation.
Okay.
You want to second it though?
I'm okay. I don't care either way.
You don't care.
Pretty much, I'm happy with the date.
Me too.
I put you down as the seconder just to proceed. All right.
Just a
Question?
question, Mr. Mayor.
Mhm.
Why are we changing? We normally have it on the last Tuesday in June, as per the recommendation, and as per the previous recommendation. Why are we changing to the 17th?
I think the challenge, councillor, is that the LGA's annual congress in Canberra falls that week. Remember reading it? And you really need the CEO at the meeting if she can be. So that's the principal reason to change it back, for want of a better way of wording it.
Yeah.
And with all other timeframes we can see eventuating.
But it could make it a fairly big day, couldn't it? With discussing budgets and, you know.
Could, but
Because we haven't got many other budget.
well, we are. I suppose the motion's there for voting, but as it falls that week, I think I'm right, Ashley, aren't I? It falls on the week of the Congress, which we didn't know. It is actually quite early this year compared to last year. I think it was in July. Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Whatever.
Over.
Okay, any other questions, debate? Being none, you'll close.
Guys,
Put the motion as it reads as the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Number 2, Local Government Association Roads and Works Conference, which is being held at, I presume, the Motorsport Park is the base. That's how it's working in our area. this year. I'd recommend as many of us go as we can. We won't have much accommodation costs, will we? Or travel, or much at all. And I understand one of our officers is working with the organisers. It's not, we haven't really got the carriage of organising it per se, have we? We just.
No, through the chair, one of our officers is on the working party that's just helping bring the event together. So not decision maker, but certainly doing some of that heavy lifting.
Who would like to go? Councillor Roundtree, are you saying yes, you'd like to go?
Yes, and councillor Peach has indicated he would like to go as well.
Councillor Maidment, you'd like to go?
Just a query on this. Is it possible to endorse all councillors to go, given that there are no costs to ratepayers for us this year?
Rather be cost.
There'll be a cost.
Oh, well, not compared to
registration
in
cost,
Sydney.
Yeah, well, it's about 600 bucks,
Six,
isn't it?
550, there it says there. I think it'd be prudent. I know what you're saying, if
Yeah,
that was possible, perhaps all councillors in the next, how long have we got till the nomination for that part closed?
Through the registration, you opened yet?
Given we're the host council. You know, yeah. The Councillor O'Hara's can't be there. Everyone else. So would it be prudent endorse the, what's the words we might change here? All councillors, all available councillors, might be a better word just to get Councillor O'Hara off the hook. Which Mediterranean sunset will you be looking at?
Yeah, I'll be in Europe.
That's all right. You're very close. I know. That's fine. So all available councillors, is that fine, Ashley, as a word? You don't need them named? All right, that's a small change, but I presume we're trying to find somewhere to show that on the tour on Friday, something we do, the road.
Yes, yeah, we have. So the hasn't been completely confirmed yet, but they're actually looking at this stage to do a partial tour of the Bend complex and talk about the construction methodology around the drag strip, around the caravan park, and all that associated infrastructure. So that's the tentative at this stage. Hasn't been finalised yet.
Okay.
So just on that through, Mayor, why aren't they looking at other roads, or is that what they normally do? Go to an event place and look at their roads? Because that wouldn't be at all reflective of our roads here, would it?
No, through the chair. No, in years gone by, they'll generally go somewhere close by and look at interesting council projects. The trick we've got, or the challenge we've got, is probably the one of most interest is Carcooma, but that's a fair drive there and back. So we're looking at things that are somewhat interesting, have a relevance in terms of road engineering technology and so forth. So there is still some benefit at the bends, but yeah, as I said, they're still looking to finalise that, and if we can find some local initiatives, we will. They'll be included as well.
Okay.
Yeah. It certainly had its challenges over time. I've been on council.
Yep. We have proposed a few, and Paul Tallick was one of those, but the committee hasn't. Well, the working group hasn't finalised yet.
Councillor Quammen, are you moving?
Yes, I'll move, and if I can speak to it.
Yes, certainly. Now.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff and everybody else who was involved in bringing this all together, and now to work out a program further on. I found by attending other of these conferences, it seemed to be the big smoke, so to speak, Mr. Mayor, orientated. Where now we're back in our own backyard, and it'll be a good chance for us to showcase what we're doing here, and also probably learn a few more things because we're on our local turf. So I think this will be really beneficial for us moving forward with regarding road technology, etc.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Maidment, thank you. Is there any discussion? No debate? You'll close.
I'll close, thank you.
Motion is that with council endorse the attendance of all of the available councillors for the 2025 LGA Roads and Works Conference to be held here at the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at Tailem Bend, 20th to the 22nd of August. The motion, all those in favour? Against, that's carried unanimously. Number 3 is curbside waste review. Councillors, perhaps before we start, is there any questions around the report and the recommendation you would have?
Mr Mayor, can we just hold meeting procedures for
10
10
minutes?
minutes to discuss this?
Yes, if everyone else is in agreement, that's fine. 10 minutes, 10:26, suspend, please. Your questions are, we'll start with you, Councillor Arthur.
Well, first to start off is the saying that we've never charged for bins. We've always charged for bins, extra bins, and somewhere along the council system has stopped charging. My question, I'd like to know when they stopped charging, which year. It's, as it says here, it's a $53,000 to $66,000 loss in revenue or charge, whatever you want to put it, whichever way. It was always in the fees and charges. You go back, it's still in the fees and charges. An extra bin. The extra bin was always, in my opinion, a bit stupid because you only got an extra red bin, but you paid for the 3. There's also the ruling that was brought in previously that those businesses who didn't want a green bin were able to swap that for a red bin. Now, none of this is in here. Now, we said we were going to have a workshop on this to work out all the steps that are going to be taken. Also, it's always been that the sporting bodies had free pickups from their waste management. So, you know, like we're starting off here. We should be starting off with a blank sheet and going through and working the whole system out what we want now. And before, if we haven't been, if we've been charging and we shouldn't be, how do I get a refund for the 6 bins that I used to pay for?
You've got several problems. Either we weren't charging and you should have paid, or you have been paying and you weren't getting the service. I'm trying to work out where you want to land. I suppose the important part is there's no formal policy or decision around that for collections. I think that's the most important part in this report. So we can go backwards forever. I'd rather go forwards. The challenge is the extra bins, generally red lid bins, have grown a bit. And does this council wish to rein that back in? That's your challenge, I think, in this motion, to be quite blunt, or this report. And you can see in the report there a potential cost of that. Potential cost of that at the moment.
So that's fine. So what we'll do here now, all the sporting clubs, they'll be paying, same as anyone else, because there's no exemption in here.
So
that's what I said. This is a half-baked policy that's been put to us. It hasn't got
Through the chair.
the inside guts of it.
Hang on, I'm not really in debate, so let's just stop that.
Can I just clarify through the chair? Council endorsed a policy June last year, and this was a hangover in terms of how the additional charge would be rolled out. So council's already reviewed the policy and endorsed it, and there was a clause that wanted to seek further clarification around how we would implement the additional charge. But we haven't changed the policy since June last year. We're simply trying to find the mechanism to implement the additional charge.
But of course,
Point 3, if I may, of the Councillor Peach, Councillor O'Hara here around this on the 16th of July. Note the concerns around additional curbside collection service and request that a further report be provided regarding how additional bins were historically allocated and charged for. The point is there's no formality around that. There's never been formality. I can tell you, I get some people in the community that talk to me quite constantly about the additional bins that have appear, which at this stage, the contractor is still picking up. So if we need to provide some guidance around in release, and I think we're talking about street bins, not community bins as we might understand them in terms of sporting grounds.
So through Mayor, people going and buying new
No,
bins.
who knows
and
what they're
then
doing? Well, they're breeding them. I don't know.
Where are these bins coming from then?
Well, they can buy
Listen,
them.
well,
People can buy them if they want to.
Mr. Mayor, that statement you made is not correct. I was in the situation with my business. I applied every year. We used to get a notice from the council and you applied for, in my instance, it was 6 bins. And you paid an extra, I think it was $3,050, $510. If I put 4 bins out, I only got 4 bins, but I paid for 6 bins for the whole 12 months. And the next year, and that has gone on up until, that's what my point is, up until when?
Well, we don't know.
When did we stop charging? Why did we stop
I
charging?
don't know. And there's no minutes around this, showing this. And I don't know, did you
I
know?
don't think it's a minutes job. It's an internal.
Well, it may be.
thing.
We can spend an extraordinary amount of time going back, or we can move to where this policy wants to take us. That's my question. Now, I don't know. Do you know of anyone at the moment that has got more than one red lead bin and has been charged for it?
Heaps of people have got more than one red
Yeah,
bin
and is being charged
and
for
have
it.
had for a long time.
And is being charged for it. The second part of it.
Well, obviously it hasn't been paid for because
Right.
the council has not been sending out accounts
Right,
for them.
So the decision about money is a different decision to where we go here. Whatever's happened previously, I can't really pull back from today. Can't change. Somewhere along the line, someone's made an arrangements. I don't know when and what and why. I actually can't deal with now. What I want to do is go forward here with a proposal which will rein that in. That's what my recommendation to you is, to rein it in, because we pay the contractor. Now, the way this will happen will allow the contractor to effectively charge for that addition.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the way that will work.
And through the chair, when this report was presented to the Roads and Infrastructure Committee, there was the concern regarding an appropriate amount of notification prior to charging. And so we've included the grandfathering and effectively giving those people who've got additional bins 12 months to make a decision about what that additional bin before we start.
Through you, Mayor, is there a policy on this now that's a document we can review in total? Because you just cleared something up for me then when you said we actually looked at this through the Roads and Infrastructure Committee. And then the recommendations from that committee came to council to accept the minutes of that meeting. We haven't had a second Roads and Infrastructure to go back and do anything with that. So when you say we already ratified it at council, is that we ratified those minutes of the Roads and Infrastructure meeting? Or it was done 2 things?
So the policy's been ratified, and that was last year that Josh mentioned, through you, Chair, sorry.
So that's a document we
Yep,
can review
and
again?
then the Roads and Infrastructure Committee had the agenda item that you referred to, and then and the minutes were ratified, that's okay. So sometimes out of each of those committees, finance is the same, things that are of particular importance come out then as a recommendation to council, and this is one of those things. So the minutes and the committee is one part of it, but it's not really an endorsed position of council until that comes out and into a separate report, and that's what this is.
Okay, so that document, that policy document now that we've got, can we get a separate copy of that? Would that help if we had another look at that?
So that's online with all our policies, but we can circulate that again.
Yeah, I think it would be useful to have another look at that again.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that we just don't appear to be on the same page with this at the minute. I'm not sure why.
So one of the issues that I know where Councillor Arthur's coming from, and particularly in the initial stages, was that there was no commercial options for some of our towns in our area.
Okay,
I think for a lot of people, commercial options, businesses now exist.
well, the sporting clubs as well.
Well, the sporting clubs, I understand, will be dealt with in a different way.
Is that in the
That's
policy?
necessarily in this policy. I don't think it's mentioned in this policy.
Well, it ought to be, because we'll be looking for it in 10 years' time where it's at, and we need to
Well,
have that in this policy.
Maybe, but as you would know, there's a whole lots of other collection methods we do as council internally.
Well, I don't know. That's the problem. I actually don't know
Well-
how that works.
You've got street bins, you've got bins en route, which are street bins, which the contractor does for efficiency purposes. You got dumped waste. There's considerable discussion on 891 this morning around illegal dumping of waste. There's whole different versions of how we move rubbish out of this district. Now, I understand where Councillor Arthur's coming from, because the simplest way to get it out is in the bin, in the little 140 litre bin. That's the simplest way, and that was what we stuck to originally. Whatever happened in those years from when we brought it in around 2000, 2001, I must have been the only person on the council, I think. And what's changed and what was an understanding and what the rubbish truck driver thought was reasonable is all fine. But sooner or later, you've got to come back and start from scratch again.
Mr Mayor, there was never ever any agreement with council on picking up any extra bins except general waste. It was never supposed to be recycling bins. It was never supposed to be green or
Is that in a minute
organic
somewhere?
bins. The charge was for general waste bins only. And one of the reasons it was brought in was because of the smaller businesses. Now, some of the bigger businesses get served by the big companies, but the little companies, you know, like Clean Waste and all that go around here, they don't go down the bush.
I know.
They don't come down our way. They don't go to Salt Creek. So that was one of the reasons. And that's when we brought the 3-bin system in.
So the revised policy will deal with that, though. They'll have 12 months to bring things back up to date, given we now have a contractor and we don't do it ourselves, I might add. Other questions? We're in still suspension, just?
Question, and that is in terms of moving forward, not in relation here, but the other component that we probably need to look at in that is the bins we don't charge for. Whether we're picking up from those that are currently excluded, such as whether it be nursing home style, sporting clubs, whatever, we need to know exactly. Whomever, exactly who we're picking up from and the number we're picking up from, because they also probably grow exponentially without a lot of discussion with council, but also at a cost. And we don't actually know that as things change over time. That's probably a work in progress rather than anything, but it's probably something we ought to know, because we're trying to decrease the volume in our red bins. So I think it's really important we know what actually is growing in other areas, and often they're being done gratis. If we could look at that at some point as well as an addendum to the policy.
Well, gratis would be a strong word.
Well, gratis is.
You may be seeking to add to this that a further report be given around, and I'll put this word in parenthesis, street bins. That's the one I think you worry about, who's picking up street bins, not a regulated service. They may have grown a bit because council laws and council staff may have added them over time, and they are generally in the principal towns picked up by council staff as frequently as required. Notice one from Taylor and Ben was area over full. Just reported that this morning. So what we've seen is a lot, as you good thing, we're seeing a lot more people pulling up in our towns. There are also a lot more people filling our bins.
Yes.
And one of the greater issues of that is, the best we can see, we then pay the waste levy and the shifting levy and every other levy on behalf of the whatever. I'm out of time unless you want to extend me.
5 minutes.
5 more minutes.
Question.
Yep,
I
quickly.
just had a look at the where would the issue of dealing with the sporting clubs fit in? If it's not fitting in this policy, is that where else is that dealt with?
Well, it could fit in as a straight a rebate of fee as a sporting club issue, or events, I might add, when we start.
In the current policy under 4.10, it talks about events, and there it talks about community sporting events. Now, it's not clear whether that's a sporting group on an ongoing basis or if that's a special event. So there could be an opportunity to tidy that part up, depending on which way council wants to go in terms of offering that service to sporting clubs. But to speak back to Councillor Arthur's point, there is that clause around commercial properties, and that organic bin, that clause is still in there as well, our policy.
And through you, Mayor, any sporting organisation that asks for any bins for an event the fee is always waived.
Sure, but some of them, I know down at our club, there's a number of bins that sit out there by the kitchen, probably about 5 or 6 maybe. Green bins, not green bins, the red bins, that sit out there. Just wondering though, there needs to be something written down about this, because in 10 years' time, when none of us are here and they're all going, what was the council's policy? And no one can find it, I think we should try and document as much of this stuff as we discuss it as possible.
Through you, Mayor, I don't think that will change the tenor of this particular, but it could, as the Mayor suggested, be an extra request to staff to say, could a report be given about what needs to be included in the current policy to ensure that there's clarity around not-for-profits in the community. So not-for-profits are your sports, because it'll be more than just sports that you're talking about. There are lots of not-for-profits and you then need to have a decision made with, is it all not-for-profits? Is it just sporting, or how do you want to do that? So we can bring that back as a separate item, as a further clarification in the current policy, but I'm not sure it impacts on this one.
I agree, and I would like that if we could formalise that, please.
We're out of time, councillors. I'm happy to move back to standard procedure, 10:41. Right. I have got a recommendation that council endorses option 1, as in the report, in relation to curbside waste collection. Someone prepared to move that way, or any other motion near it?
Could I just ask another question, please?
Really want a motion now?
Oh, well, I need to ask this question.
Right, try me.
Just when we're conveying this to the public through option 1, and we're going to talk to them, how are we going to ensure that they understand that their first bin is provided by council, but all subsequent bins will they'll have to pay for through Solo? I mean, to me, as a person that might be going to use this service, that is a very confusing. At the moment, the mindset is it's all council, and they don't see Solo as anything that they need to deal with on a separate basis. And now what we're saying is, and we say it previously too, that we're going to give them the 1 bin as part of their service, but anything else they've got to make a separate application to Solo, pay Solo in advance for 13 weeks, and do all of that. We have to be really clear how we're delivering that message, because it's going to cause some
We certainly do, but in the public domain, probably better that's separated, because there's people out there saying, well, why are you picking up 3 bins from that place?
Okay, so you see,
I see it in the reverse. It's really clear.
I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying we just need to communicate it really clearly so that it is understood, because
Yeah,
there is
sure.
still going to be that view. Why are you picking up this and not picking up mine?
Well, we're picking it up because it's a statutory role.
So through you, Mayor, we will have it will be a letter to the household, some publicity around it, and then there will also be the application form that has already been developed, because remember, this has been a conversation now probably for the last 2 years about the extra bin.
And further to that, what I would say through the chair is that Solo are doing this for a number of councils, both regional and in the metro. So they're how they run that process efficient and quite streamlined. It won't prevent someone from calling up Coorong and saying, I need an extra bin, pointing them in the right. Website would obviously be updated to have all that relevant information. So we would still take the calls if need be, but then we would just be forwarding them on to Solo for to fill out the paperwork.
Okay, and Solo are going to undertake an examination now, aren't they, of all the bins out there and who owns what, and try and fix that going forward? Or are we just going to start afresh with a line in the sand? How are we going to do it?
Well, but that's in the report. They will.
Yeah, through the chair. Solo have a pretty good idea who's putting out extra bins, and they don't have to have RFID tracking or any smarts. It is literally simple. I'm at house A. Oh, there's 2 bins there. Make a note. They've got fleet tracker software that shows. So quite quickly they can pick up additional bins. There may be some confusion depending on where they're located. Bin banks might be a little bit more tricky, but we can certainly narrow it down in the first instance, and then it's not such, then they can start doing some targeted inquiries based on any unknowns.
I'm happy to move the motion then.
Move the motion as it reads. Council endorse option 1.
Yeah.
Relation. Is there a seconder? Councillor O'Hara, you want to speak? Councillor Roundtree, to your motion.
No, I've asked the questions that I wanted to ask. This does tidy up that last bit. I'm happy with the grandfathering clause that's in there. And, yeah, I think we need to make progress.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hara? No. Anyone else for or against?
Closed.
She's closed. Put the motion as it is, the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried with councillor Arthur. Thank you. Against the other 5 councillors present today. Yes. Voting for it. Still carried. Number 4. Annual business plan third-party review. Recommendation there, councillors. We'll move that way, please.
I have a question.
Yep.
So just looking down to, I've got to find something. The project objectives, funding sources and status, we looked, it's got I guess this is all around the Wellington East water supply. We've got 3 areas that say they're in negotiation. One is the Wellington East water supply project, and funding sources, a national water grid. We've got local government infrastructure partnership project for the Wellington East water supply, Department of Treasury and Finance, and then the third one is a disaster ready fund, all in negotiation. So these are looking at 3 funding sources to try and achieve what we want to achieve. We've also then got the development of the Wellington East structure plan. Is the water plan part of the structure plan? Because that one's saying it's deferred. I was just a bit confused because like the actions of SA Water with regards to the development of a Wellington East structure water plan, will that affect the water supply projects that are being applied for from those 3 sources?
They're 2 different things, through you, Mayor. They're 2 different things, councillor. The water project is the conversion of the non-drinking water to drinking water. And that's where the WISA and the LGIP and all those funding sources we're looking at to offset the final cost, which we won't know until SA Water finish their work, which is about the middle of this year. And so nothing has changed there. The infrastructure plan is about the growth of the community, and that's a separate project that will take place once everything else with the potable water is completed. We thought that we were putting the cart before the horse to do it. So the structure plan will be after that.
After the water plan.
Yeah, and that's to do with all the, and Josh will describe it better than I, but for me, it's about all the infrastructure that's needed to support the growth of the town, not the potable water component.
Correct. Yeah.
So I get considerable discussion from people about when we're going to upgrade a couple more roads there, and pretty difficult debate because we've been stretched out how many years on this process. But we need to get the water mains in first. You know how good local government looks if we build a new road
And dig it up.
and dig it up tomorrow. Which is pretty frustrating, and we're still in time frame of expecting SA Water soon.
Yes.
Director?
For the month, we're expecting, detailed design with a first order cost estimate.
Mayor, has any information gone out to residents about where we're at?
Yep, through the chair. Yep, letters were circulated.
So weeks ago, yeah.
Oh, about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm happy to move that motion then.
Thank you. Moved Councillor Roundtree. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bland, thank you. We're in debate. Councillor Roundtree, you want to speak to it or anything else?
No, the rest of it looked okay.
Councillor Bland,
I'm happy.
Mr Mayor.
you've got a question?
Yes, I've got a question. Regarding page 30, it's undertake asset condition assessment and revaluation process for the respective asset classes, and then it's a new asset administration consultant has been identified. Currently, road asset data is being provided for their first cut analysis. Other asset categories will be prioritised for 2025 calendar year. Could you just expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. Yep, sure, through the chair. It's the consultant we've engaged is spoken previously about going into the new software system. So our roads assets are now in the system. We are finalising the building register, and there'll be a workshop with council. We're looking at sort of June, I think. So I'm looking at Ash. We've got a pretty jam-packed workshop agenda, but that's when we're looking to do that. As Miles has previously communicated, our intention is to have all asset management plans updated by the end of the calendar year.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Uppers touched on what my concerns is on page 25. It's on infrastructure, the second point down, undertake stormwater and drainage revaluation. So I was just going to ask the question, why is this taking so long? And I think our director has partly answered that. Could you just enlighten me more about how we're progressing and why this is taking a while to get through
In
this
terms of
revaluation?
stormwater and water specifically,
Yes,
we are focusing on buildings at this point and getting that register into a state where we're comfortable with the accuracy. We'll be coming back to council with a workshop around all the curious machinations of buildings and our ownership and our responsibility matrix. Once we've done that work, we'll be then water and water. Now we're reasonably comfortable with what our data is in that space. We just wanted to really focus on the buildings at this point in time.
I look forward to stormwater, councillor. Look forward to stormwater now. Any other questions? People speaking for or against? You're closed, councillor. The motion is as it reads, is a recommendation. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. The next item, councillors, I would like you to consider me withdrawing it. The reason is, when I get to it, is it 6? That's this one here. It's enforcement policy, councillors, is we've received advice only this morning. I might just read it. From the State Planning Commission that practice direction 8 and 9 will be amended and to commence on the 1st of July 2025. These directions are about mandatory and compliance inspection that council undertake. The enforcement policy may need to be amended to meet the new requirements and will need to be reviewed and updated to align with the new practice directions. Just so the suggestion is that we leave this on the table, presented at perhaps the next meeting when we've got that information. Is everyone happy with it to just be withdrawn at this stage? It doesn't affect our present compliance processes, I'm assured.
I'm happy with that, Mayor. When the changes are put in that you need to update, will we get another opportunity to review those?
Yeah, this is a statutory part, but it looks like it will affect what we would have discussed today, so we don't want to rehash it. Yeah. And there's no weakness in our present processes, apparently, if we don't. So I'm taking that as agreed, elected members agreed for that to be withdrawn at this stage. Yep.
And the inspection of premises and how we actually manage to identify those that are not actually on our books. And we know that they exist and that they're
What sort of premises?
food preparation, a whole range of premises. Not all premises are on our books or identified by council.
Through you,
That's
and I
what
will
I
take the question on notice, but my overall comment would be that generally we act on complaints in those areas rather than an active, we just don't have the resources to do that. If council wanted us to have a proactive approach to that, that would probably entail more than the one person we pay from Murray Bridge a week to do that work. So we do need,
The lack of resources. I'm also aware of some industry that perhaps needs to be considered. And I'm
Would
sure
you follow
across our
that
whole
up
district.
with the CEO, councillor?
But the health inspector is also aware, and again, same problem.
Yep. I've moved on to item 6, internal review of council's decision procedure review, and some councillors have made some comments and amendments have been incorporated. Is someone prepared to move it? Councillor Arthur, you're moving that council adopt the internal review of council decision procedure as amended. Is there a seconder? Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Arthur, you want to speak to it?
Oh, I don't think we've.
No. Councillor Roundtree, you then go.
Yes. I'm happy with the definition that's been provided about vexatious requests. I think that was fairly clear. It was interesting that you had to go through so much work to get a definition. That was a bit interesting. Just a couple of little issues. The Roman numerals on 6.3 need to be indented, just a grammatical thing. And under vexatious requests, it looked like it was part of the one above and not the one below, just spacing. Other than that, I think that the footnotes are very much, when you read it with the footnotes now, it's very much clearer to understand it. So yeah, I will support this one.
Thank you. And the word, yeah, the descriptive search for vexatious is,
It was incredible.
well, it's a interesting word.
Just as a comment, Mayor, in all my years, and I've been involved in lots and lots of authorised officer type reviews, I can't remember a time when I've actually said to a client of any description, that's vexatious, maybe once. So it's not something that is used frequently, and it will always be discretionary, if you like, but it's not something that you would use with gay abandon, if you like.
Fair enough.
Anyone else? Councillor Coleman?
I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Bear and Councillor Roundtree, for bringing up that word, vexatious. I had concerns about how long's a piece of string, you know?
You will see it
We
also,
didn't answer that. Was it vexatious?
That would have been easier to answer.
Yes.
Mm,
you will see sometimes that mischievous is used the same way.
Yeah.
yes, all right, thank you.
There's no other speakers. You'll close, Councillor Arthur. Motion is as the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. What do I move to?
7.
Number 7, councillors.
Can I have a question, please?
You can start with a question, yeah.
Okay, so 7.4, I'm a bit perplexed as to why a chairperson has to physically attend if the others all don't have to. So for instance, just say that myself or Jonathan or someone from who's further away is chairing this group and they've got to drive all the way to Tailem Bend and yet everyone else can join online. I couldn't see the logic behind making that compulsory. If physical attendance is mandatory, does the location have to be here? Could it be somewhere central, like at the Tintinara office, or could it be at the Canalpin pub, or could it be at Meningie office? You know, like, to me, is there any flexibility there? For me, 7.4 just didn't make any sense.
And up to the chamber, I'm told.
I actually, depending for you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with Councillor Roundtree. I think sometimes if the chair has to be in attendance, then looking at that opportunity, it's also good for staff who perhaps have not always had a lot of time to be out there to go and have a look as well.
So I would like to see that more open-ended, that where the meetings are held and how they're attended be more open, because if it's only a 20-minute catch-up to review something, you might as well do that by Zoom, everyone online, rather than everyone drive and cost money to the council to come into this venue. And it could be easier, depending who's on the committee, to do it another way.
The governance officer got something to add.
So through the chair, these terms of reference were developed, as you'll probably note, based on some of our current section 41 committee terms of reference. Because it's a working group, it's a little bit less formal, so I don't see a problem with this changing.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm happy to move the motion and to be on this committee. I would like to be on this committee. And if anyone else wants to, Sharon or anyone else.
So just hang on, just read it. I'm trying to tidy up the first part around 7374. So since it says it's a telephone or video conference meeting, can be, I don't know that means that the chairperson has to be at a physical site. It doesn't say anything about a physical site, does it?
Well, it just said that the chairperson must attend.
The meeting online.
It said physically.
Not when I'm reading 7.4. Tell me if I'm on the wrong bit.
Again. I thought it said it. Unless I read it wrong.
7.4, councillors, I'm reading. Doesn't give anywhere where you have meetings shall be conducted. Yeah, but or by other venue as agreed by the working party. So I think you, quite honest.
All right, good eye.
8.2.
It covers other sites for meetings.
Okay.
7.4. Yeah, I would take that to read that they should be in person and not online. I think we could just
So it does say it. I'm not,
You know, it does simple,
7.4 does say it.
it says in person.
There's no requirement in the Act for this, is what governance officers saying for 7.4. So you.
No, it would be more about for ease of the meeting
Yeah.
in terms of chairing. It's generally easier if you're in person, but because it's an informal working group, we could probably work around that. But I can refer to our Ben up back. Yeah, so the secretariat would probably still be here. If you were to commence a meeting online, you'd probably have to run it from this venue anyway to do that. So
Would you though?
The chair wouldn't have to be here, but the meeting would start from here.
Yeah, the meeting could be started from here, but the chair wouldn't have to physically be in
No.
this room. Yeah. So I think just taking out where is it? Chairperson must be in attendance of the meeting, and then remove the words "and may not partake in the meeting via telephone or video conference."
Can I clarify something then? Does that mean that if the chairperson for some reason can't be in attendance, that meeting is cancelled?
I would suggest 7.4 comes out altogether through you,
Yeah,
Chair.
just take it out.
Or will you make quorum, councillors? Is there any?
50%.
Then the ex officio role becomes useful. No pressure. Removing 7.4 is everyone's understanding. 0.1. You want to have two separate motions, councillors, or not?
No, I think
Right.
it's fine. Just
Removed.
So I've got councillors Roundtree and Peach as potential candidates. Is anyone else wishing to be on this governance and policy review group?
I'll do it.
Councillor Bland, anyone else? Don't be afraid of voting.
Well, it's only for three. There's three council members.
I'm happy if somebody else wants to do it. I'm just.
I
Anyone
always,
else is breaking their neck to be on it or
I'm
not?
not breaking my neck, but I always seem to provide feedback on policy review,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to be on it. If councillor Bland.
No, that's fine. You go ahead.
Can be
Yeah,
online,
fine.
councillor. That's perhaps the one. I'm going to put it down as councillors
There's one proxy
Roundtree,
in.
Peach and Maidment as the three. Has anyone else got a mad dislike of that? Apart from
Not a
you?
dislike, Mayor, through you, just a question. If councillor Peach is elected to federal where he wants to
We'll
be,
worry about that
we
the
then
day it
have to
happens.
review this?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Well, you never know our luck, given the policy announcement this morning of LRCIPs returning under that group, so.
Yeah.
Maybe. So number 2, appoint councillors Roundtree, Peach and Maidment to the Governance and Policy Review Working Group until the expiry of the current term. Everyone's happy with that? Someone's, councillor Bland and councillor Quam, you're moving and seconding. Is that what I'm
Yep.
picking between the lines? The Bland and councillor Quam. Is there any debate, councillors? Councillor Maidment?
Thank you, Mayor. It's not a debate. It's got moved councillor Roundtree to start. And
Yeah,
she
so put my
moved if
hand up.
she's been
I'm happy
appointed or
to
not.
take my hand away. Yeah, it's better if I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Having good governance, see?
I look at my notes, not the screen, sorry, generally. Okay, no further debate? Okay. Councillor Bland, yes, we've closed, haven't we? So the motion is, as it reads with in point 1, the removing of 7.4. We appoint councillors Roundtree, Peach and Maidment to the Governance and Policy Review Working Group. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. 8 is the minutes of the Canalpin Swimming Pool Caravan Park Committee. Can I move that way, please?
I will, but I also have just.
Councillor Roundtree is the seconder, is where? Councillor Maidment. Councillor Roundtree, you've got a question.
Yes, so in the report, it talks about under discussion that a request from the committee was made for confirmation of whether a first aid certificate is compulsory for a canteen volunteer. It said that the email was sent to the committee on the 19th of February, which I think is a typo because they didn't ask for it until March. But what I have got, and I wasn't included in that response. I got it last night and from the committee, and it was I think they got 4th of May was, 4th of April was the date the email came through with regards to that question. And what it does say is that first aid isn't compulsory, but because the volunteers are at the pool, it has always been expected that the volunteers do their first aid training. However, when I was volunteering, it was sort of made clear to me that it was compulsory before I could set foot in that canteen, that I had to have first aid training, and which is why I've missed the entire season of being a volunteer, because I had to wait to get my first aid training done. And it's caused a bit of a volunteer problem in the pool committee, because people have backed away or been not able to volunteer because they haven't had that first aid certificate. So there was a real contentious point there, I guess. If it's not compulsory, that should have been made very clear, because then I could have been helping all season and others could have been as well. So it's just been quite frustrating for everyone to not have that clear. And it might be nice to have it, but if it wasn't compulsory to be able to do a pay wave and sell chips, then that should have been also made very clear to the committee that that was the case, because it has certainly for people that volunteer in the canteen. So I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't back in February they got this information. It literally was only earlier, a couple of weeks ago.
So through you, Mayor, we'll clarify completely whether it's compulsory or not. If it's not compulsory, councillors, I would suggest that it's still a decision in the chamber about what standard you want from the volunteers at a swimming pool, which is probably our highest risk area. So that's something that we will take your lead from. If it's not compulsory, then it's not compulsory, but we would also like some direction from you then about the standard you want at a high risk facility.
So through you, Mayor, we do have paid lifeguards that are in attendance, and the people that are currently volunteering are all in their 70s. So how much use they're going to be in an emergency situation other than dialing for help, holding something, remains to be seen. But I think blocking out a number of people that have been prepared to step in because of that requirement when it wasn't a compulsory requirement, they've all got their first aid certificates, the ones that are there now. But it's held up people like myself, for instance, that could have been doing something for them that weren't able to. So I just think
Seek further clarification.
Seek further clarification, yeah.
Anyone else wish to add to the debate around the pool minutes there? Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just questions here on regarding fees and charges. Point 3 and 4, it says committee recommended that swimming pool fees and charges remain the same for the 25-26 financial year, reflected in our draft coming up schedule of fees and charges. Point 4 then says that recommended that swimming pool entry fees be $2 per head on the days, and similar thing to the point 3. Is that additional charge or was it a different charge? Could someone explain, please?
I can actually answer that. I was there at that time. So there was one of the other swimming pools up in Loxton, I think, had done a mental health day. And so they were saying for when it's really hot over, I think they do 38 degrees or 35 degrees, when farmers are probably sitting home feeling sad, that they offer cheap fees for really, really hot days to try and get people to come in and socialise and swim. So we set a temperature, and for locals to come in on that day, it was just going to be a one-off lower fee to get them through the door. to get about their kitchens and out their lounge room. So they've been trialling it in another area and it had worked reasonably well. Got a few extra people they hadn't seen before come through the door. And so they wanted to just have that ability to do it. And they may not do it, you know, but if things are looking grim, it could be another tactic to help people through the door and off the couch.
Thank you.
Any other debate, councillors? Being none, you'll close. Put the motion as it reads. All those in favour? As against, that's carried unanimously. Okay. 11.1, information not reports, Chief Executive Officer, recommendation. Someone move, please.
I have a question.
No, move it, please, first. Just get something going. Councillors Bland and O'Hara, thank you. Councillor Weston.
So this is the second month that there's no data collected for the caravan park. How is this possible and how hard is it to get the data on why have we not had it for 2 months?
For you, Chair, I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry, but Ash does. We have staff shortages down there at the moment, councillor, but we will, once, can we get retrospective data once we do collect it again?
Yep, through the chair we can.
I'd really like that. And my second comment is around the volunteer expo, and it was some comment made to me, and then I looked at it and thought, yeah, it's actually a valid point. Some of the imagery used had older people on the imagery, the ones certainly as you drove in and out of town, and some of the younger people are going, why don't we perhaps put younger faces on there to show that it isn't just about old people volunteering, because a lot of clubs really want younger people in there volunteering, and it sort of gave the impression it was what older people do. And we really want to get these young people off their butts and volunteering as much as we can too. So maybe it's next year's imagery changing.
And we're usually very conscious of that. So yes, noted. Thank you.
Other questions in this report, councillors? Councillor Bland.
Yes, the Narung Jetty. I note we're putting the counter from the lighthouse onto the Narung Jetty at some future time. Could I just get a bit more detail on how and why we're doing that and when we're doing it? It's a little bit useless over winter on a jetty. If we're trying to prove a need, then I think we need to look at timing or disprove a need.
Yeah, through the chair. I'll have to take that on notice because I know part of the driver for that is to get some information about how often it's being used, and there'll be a workshop with council around the structural integrity and what the options are. But I'll come back to you, back to elected members with some further info about the counts and the timing for that, if that's okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think my point is that we have Easter coming up, and if it's not already there's little point doing it post-Easter over the winter period, given that is a campgrounds.
Yes.
And the waters there can be reasonably rough. I doubt everybody's been sitting on the end of the jetty fishing at that point. And I'd be interested to know how we're actually going to do that counter. Thank you.
Other questions, councillor Coleman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Meetings attended by the CEO, was the 14th of March, the 20th of March, the 24th, involving the Meningie Area School, and meetings with various ministers. I've seen the CEO's been quite busy on that, so could you enlighten us how it's progressing? Thank you.
Yes, you're right, through you, Chair. We have been busy. The Mayor and I met with the Mayor piped out. The Mayor, I met with the Minister.
Not every one of the meetings I went to, no.
He was otherwise detained, so that was, that was an inappropriate word. Sorry, Mayor. We are still negotiating with the Department of Education about the amount that council will contribute to the construction of the community library part of their rebuild. The meeting with officers from the Department of Education followed the minister's meeting, where there was general agreement that council is probably not in a position to contribute significantly to the bill, but school libraries were very important. We are now just waiting for a letter to come back, which will form the basis of a report to council, because remember, councillors, you haven't endorsed anything in regards to this at the moment. And the last meeting that Josh and I went to with the officers from the Education Department were talking about general agreement around spreading any contribution that council makes over a 4-year period. That, remember, I may have spoken to you about, is there an opportunity to, or not opportunity, but the coupling of selling of assets in Meningie to focus on one particular asset, which is the community library. The Education Department have not taken that path. And so we're really just waiting for them to come back and say the council contribution, based on everything that we know about the cost of the build at the moment, should be X, and that can be spread over 4 years. And I don't have that information yet. So we're just waiting for that so that we then come back to you with a report to say this is the proposal from the Education Department. Do you agree with it or not? Or do we still continue the negotiations?
Councillors, I'm aware that this is starting to become the deferring point now that we are awaiting their formal letter, and that was
Correct.
my clear understanding when I left with the minister, that they will make us a formal offer. Sooner the better, a whole variety of reasons. So I'd much rather see us, under whatever form, make that decision and get on with the build of that building, and well, the combined 2 buildings actually. That's where that one's at. Councillor Bland.
Yes, following through on that one there, then with the minister as well, and I know we're still seeking further advice about Wadmore House. I'm just wondering if there's an update.
No.
So one thing is quite clear, that the Wadmore House land issue and the library are not joined in.
Yeah, well, I was hoping that, but I'm
So
just
that
wondering on
we made
what,
that quite clear.
have we had any further update then on Wadmore?
No, that would be,
I suppose the only thing, Mayor, that probably was further discussed when we worked with the minister was that the incumbents on the house does cause concern, or is not useful in terms of council's use of the property itself. So there does seem to be still a appetite for that incumbents to be changed in some way, but that's still not anywhere near concluded. And I suppose, Mayor, it would be true to say that we were probably thinking, let's finish the Meningie part of it first with the school, and then do the Wadmore House thing, because they're starting to detract from each other's conversation, if you like, or confuse the issue. So we've separated them.
If I'll make the comment about Wadmore House, if we don't get a holistic approach to the users of that in the future, then, and it's restricted, then it does make it very difficult for Meningie moving forward there. My second question is around the scoping for the Coorong childcare need. How are we looking at progressing with that scoping across the Coorong Council?
I will take. Thank you. I will take it on notice. Ashley just whispered in my ear, because it's my second day back from a while, that we have an email ready to go to you with the details of the timeframes where the consultation will happen over the next couple of weeks. So we will send that out to you, and then if there's any further information you need, please come back to us. But that's ready to go to you now. And it starts, I think, next week.
Yeah. In the midst of doing all the promotions to start that engagement process.
yeah, I think I've signed off on a press release actually.
Looking at the smaller communities that are further out, and one of the ways around some of the childcare or activity-based care that are not necessarily in a formal setting is something that has been done in the past, and that is with a mobile version that may actually suit or assist in some communities.
Through you, Mayor, the consultation will be about the need in the first instance, and then what are the solutions. And the mobile one has certainly come up for discussion, and the consultant is acutely aware of the size of the district, and not only the size of our district, but the movement between, like Keith, Murray Bridge, Lameroo, Pinaroo. There's a whole lot of movement of parents and in terms of childcare activity now. So how does she capture all of that movement to really determine what the need is across our district?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Being none, there's a motion there. We receive and note the report. I'm going to put that. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Number 2 would be Corporate and Communities Information Report, councillors. It's gone.
I have a question.
Yes, start with the question while I find the page, please.
Okay, so on the section 41 committee action list, There's a completed item 10 to 25. Allocation to the committee, the Tintinara Hall Committee of keys. That still hasn't occurred, but it's marked off as completed.
We will, unless I'm looking at the director, but I'll take that on notice and we'll get back to you with some clarity.
Anyone else? Got questions? Councillor Qualman?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Two questions, actually. Page 72, organisations development, staff departures. We have had our waste transfer station attendant leave on end of March. Have we got someone appointed yet, or are we just running within our own resources?
Through the chair, adverts are going out, I think it went out today. And in the meantime, we've got Comfact staff covering the 2 shifts at the moment, so.
And my other question, if I may, Mr Mayor, next page, page 73, work health and safety and risk management, incident type, and it had a near miss. Could someone enlighten me what the near miss is, or what happened, please?
We will take that on notice and get it back to you, councillor. A near miss is generally something that could have caused some concern but didn't. And so we tend to use them as a learning exercise more than anything else, but we'll come back to you with what that particular one was.
Thank you. Other questions, councillors? Someone move that report be received. Councillors Qualman and Rountree are the 2. Any debate, any further discussion? Being none, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Against, it's carried unanimously. Number 3, infrastructure and assets information report, councillors.
Just a
So
comment.
just someone move that way, please. Start with someone moving it. Councillor Arthur, is there a seconder? Councillor Rountree, your question, Councillor Rountree, is?
It's just more of a comment. It was disappointing to see the dumping of tyres and household stuff. Is that getting worse or is it on the same?
I'm not, through you, Chair, I'm going to say no. We'll always have incidents of it. But my gut feeling, and it's really not the best measure, but is that no, it's not getting worse. And in fact, we're pretty low in terms of council areas, in terms of illegal dumping, but we do have the occasion.
Yeah, I'd second the CEO's comments on that.
There's considerable discussion at 9 o'clock this morning on statewide radio around this subject. Mayor of Playford, Claire Doherty, spoke to it.
Was awkward.
So it's just a problem you're going to have ongoing. Councillor Arthur?
Mr Mayor, to whoever, I'm not sure who's this one.
Me first, yep.
Through you, but the Colbatch mobile tower is still serves
Unsatisfactory.
about 300 feet. So it's absolutely useless what's out there at the present moment. It's a lot of dollars tied up. Have we been in touch with Telstra, NBN, or whoever's the
Telstra's,
Telstra?
it's a continuous, I would suggest it's going to become a big issue. It's to be funded by a different federal fund and to have a tower that, as reported to me on Friday night, you know, I could probably yell louder. Is this not a satisfactory outcome? Whether that's still a technical problem or was the best they designed, who knows? But we are pursuing it, and I see as soon as the federal election's over, that's for the federal member to chase down, as far as I'm concerned now.
Through the chair, further to the mayor's update, 2 of our staff met with the Telstra state manager on site 3 weeks ago now. Provided a running comment. We provided commentary around the areas where there's no service now. Also the comments about, you literally move 300 metres away from the tower and you black spots. They are going back to do some further investigation. They've asked us to continue to provide any known areas or any reports of black spots or no coverage through to this same officer, and we're hoping we'll get some feedback as a result of that.
The trouble is, we've had so many excuses, haven't we? You know, like it was SA Power Network's fault, but it wasn't. But then they said when it was first turned on, you had to wait so you can turn the volume up, so to speak. Well, you know, that's months ago now. And obviously someone can't find the volume button.
Through the chair, the representative from Telstra had a booster in his car and made the comment that it was okay for the drive out to the tower. We said, well, not everyone has a booster, and it's not, it's an unrealistic expectation that everyone should have a booster in their vehicle. So the service was better when 3G was still operational. So so we've provided some pretty strong feedback to this officer, and the two council staff are in dialogue with them as more information or more reports from our staff and others are coming in about these black spots. We're sending them through to Telstra.
Yeah.
Councillor Roundtree.
But interestingly, I had a visit from a Telstra person only last week who came out with a local person who'd been contacting Telstra on his own behalf, saying how his reception was awful, and he's based more towards Kai. Yep, towards Kai. And so this Telstra person came out and he had his phone and was walking around our property looking to see reception and taking data as he was driving around some of the roads. But this is independent to what you guys are doing. This guy's come out because a resident has complained profusely about the lack of coverage. And so this man has come out, and I could get you all the details. But he was saying when he got to our farm in particular that our service is quite good. And I pointed out that we've got booster towers all over the property, and that's the only reason it is half decent. But you walk out of our farm and you don't have it on Ware Road, and you don't have it on Kruger and Netherton and other places like that. So the service all around the place has definitely dropped off. And that's what I was trying to convey to him too. It has definitely dropped off from when we had 3G. It's a lot worse now. And in those fires recently, I was on top of a hill trying to get signal and couldn't get it. So, there is a massive problem, not only with Colback, it's their whole service all over the place. And they seem to know about it, and they've got people out doing these spot visits. So, they need to lift their game.
Through the chair, if I may, I would encourage, if not already, to keep complaining. I mean, we're advocating, but if the CFS had issues, a letter coming from them saying that, there was an emergency and we couldn't get service, I think all of that will just help them take notice, a bit more notice.
Does. One of the other things he said is that Telstra was bringing out a new mobile phone by about July that's going to be a satellite phone that is small and thin, and it's going to look like your normal phone. That's not going to be a big chunky thing. It's going to be small, but it will be connected to satellites, which they suspect will be something farmers will take on, because it will give them service wherever they are if they've got access to satellites. So,
Be fair to say that our experience, different reasons at Narung and Colbatch has been hard work. But I suppose that the other point of it is that was the only company that would even engage about the process. So, goes to show how much one somewhere gives to phone service in country areas, unfortunately. Other questions? Councillor Arthur?
Mayor, to Josh, when will we get the details of any answers regarding the Tidmore Apex Club upgrade?
For the capital project?
Yes. It was out for consultation,
Yes.
right? And there was consultation finished, answers had to be in yesterday.
Yep.
When will we get the details of, if we got any?
I'll have to take that on notice. I would imagine that there'll be a follow-up report in the next council agenda, but I'll need to confirm and I'll send it.
Thank you.
Unless.
And just through you, Mayor, further to that, the Governance Office just suggested we bring a report to the special meeting on the 29th of April as well. We'll have time to collate what we need to do.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Maidman?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. And through you, what do we do with the green waste shreddings?
The one that is in the agenda that we've shredded efficiently.
Yeah,
Yes,
it looks
very good
really
question.
good.
Through the chair, we obviously the photos in the report, we're mulching up our green waste. We reuse that where we can. That said, we've got quite the stockpile at the moment. We don't provide it to the community because of the associated risks and no guarantees of what's in there. So It's not a major problem, but it's, I mean, somewhat of a problem because we're getting quite a large stockpile.
It's a pity we can't use it in the public arena. Mulch, I would have picked.
And then O'Hara.
My question is about where other land needs some remediation. Can that be utilised even if it's under care and control of council?
Potentially. It's probably, through the chair, we haven't had a real robust discussion internally about what other uses we might be able to use this material for. It was only as part of this recent mulching process that we've acknowledged, okay, our stockpiles are starting to get quite large. We need to find some uses for it.
I think community consultation with some groups that who can identify some of the areas that we could do it, but certainly land under care and control may benefit from having some remediation.
Yeah, you've got anything to add?
Oh, through you, Chair. One of the issues obviously is, as Josh pointed out, there's no guarantee of what's in it. There's weeds, and it's not mulched as such. It's not turned into compost, which kills all the weeds and so forth. So the potential there is that we could be just spreading feral weeds and that around the district by spreading the green waste.
Are we managing it now if we're spreading it?
We're not spreading it.
Mainly just put on our capped landfills as part of their closure agreements. But obviously you can only do so much of that.
Yeah.
So we're managing that site for weeds though.
To you, I think Josh summed it up. We haven't really turned our mind to what we should do with it at the moment. There are limitations because we don't have fumigation processes to ensure that the end product is suitable for public use, but we haven't really explored what else we might do with it yet.
And further to that, off the back of the tour we had the other couple of weeks ago now, we will be talking to both Pete's and to the Adelaide Hills Regional Waste Authority about our waste transfer stations and our green waste, and if there's any better ways that we can be dealing with.
O'Hara.
I think Josh has answered my question. I was going to say, why can't we take that green waste once it's mulched to Pete's?
Yeah. And that's there would be a cost involved in terms of transferring it from us up to Pete's, and it's something that we'll have a discussion with them about.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a follow-on question there, because I've just asked, I was going to put it in questions with notice, about mulch from the depot. The stuff that we've mulched, we know what's in it, like as is. It's quite funny that we don't use, we used to be able to get mulch from the depot years ago, but now we don't for some reason. The council stopped it. And it seems a bit odd where a lot of other councils, Wattle Range, Grant, are actually encouraging the residents to come and use the mulch, only the mulch that they process themselves at the depot like we do. So it's only trees and stuff going in it. So I'm just wondering if that's something we could look at. But at the present moment, I think we've got to look at it too as a way. A lot of people don't want lawns anymore.
Yeah.
They love lawns, but they just can't afford it with the water situation. So maybe it's something we do have a look at.
There's two versions of what's at the depots. One's what public brings in and one's what our staff take in, I suppose.
Yeah.
In terms of multiple stuff too.
That's right.
Okay.
And sorry, Mayor, I'd say that there is some potential that, the stuff that we're bringing in, we know and we can sort to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Try and minimise that weed loads, but anything coming in from the public, we would need to be treating that somewhat differently.
Well, must I say, the last lot just done, it's probably the mulching just done by the contractor. It's the best I've ever seen. And it just shows you can do it, because they actually took out painted timber and that, and mulched that separately. So that didn't go in with the system. It was only all the trees and limbs and all that sort of thing that went in.
No green posts?
Yeah, big machine too, big machine.
No green posts.
No green posts. Okay, any other questions, councillors? We've been on this report for a while. Councillor Maidment?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick one through you. The EV charging station at Tinty, is that actually operational and open, running? Says mid-April, so.
Yeah, through the chair, my, Tank will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it was commissioned and it was operational, middle of last week, so.
Okay,
Other than some surrounding civil works that, and the interface between the asphalt area and the rubble area needs a bit of, cleaning up, and some access points. It's, yeah, large, for the most part, the project's finished.
excellent. Given gather round, it probably got quite a
think
lot of
that's a lot
use
of-
too, I would say. Thank you.
I think we've done some press. I've done some press with RAA on that. Okay. Councillor Kwong?
Just quickly, thank you, Mr Mayor, page 88, a photograph there, new taps installed at the Tailem Bend public toilets over by the railway station. These toilets are only 3 years old, maybe something like that, and the outside sinks had the push plate underneath it. You could get the water to flow out the tap. Apparently the system failed, and which is disappointing for something that old, and you couldn't get replacement plants. So council's gone along and placed it with the old conventional type tap, and it's all working a lot more reliable. Isn't that right, Josh? Thank you.
That's, yeah, well,
Yeah.
proof will be in the pudding, but yes.
And if I may, Mr Mayor, there's a photo next to it, and then it's got a picture of tyres laying there, and it says roadside rubbish located. Sounds like they're located and didn't take it away. Sorry,
Well, maybe
someone
they
pointed
didn't.
that out to me. That's all.
Noted.
All right, councillors, anything else? Right, we've got a mo. That is moved and seconded that we could receive that report. Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Okay. How about we have a 5-minute break? For my benefit, please.
25, what a big difference.
And the wind out there.
There's
I'll
Barrett
find
back 100.
Remind me to do it.
Yeah.
On
With
the
it.
sign off
Jeep
the
had it.
gate. They put a sign on
Nobody
the gate.
thought about it. I
Obviously,
suppose that-
We're live. Welcome back, councillors. 12.1, questions with notice, or I have nil. Questions without notice, 12.2, please. Oh, councillor O'Hara was going to put his hand up, but he...
Yeah, I have actually, I've got a
No,
couple.
well, I'll let him go first then. I wasn't sure.
Want to put a simple questions here.
Right.
There's been a fair bit on, Facebook and so forth about people filling up their caravans and so forth from the dog park at Meningie. I mean, and someone evidently was there with a 1,000 litre thing on the weekend. And I've got no problem with it, but I just sort of thought I'd ask, what is the council's stance on it? There's always caravans there filling up. Where are we at with it? I mean,
So there's 2 or 3 parts I'm going to start this because there's just been a discussion out in the corridor. State government in their announcement around the second round of so-called drought assistance has committed some money to public standpipes. So the bones around that is still unsure, but it would be fair to say that it's just been mentioned around that particular spot, which we've probably already closed down a bit or something. But in case of the biggest standpipe, for want of a better word, because it's not a standpipe near the council depot, but also the one here at Taylor Bend on Jacob Street. Had a brief discussion outside how we can progress quickly being part of that funding solution. My reading of the proposal from the state was it was going to be 50-50. The biggest issue once you lock standpipes is people either break them or then go it. And last night, I observed someone filling up in the car park over here by the railway station, which has become a common filling spot for caravans, I've noticed, of water off of our water system. One of the issues becomes, is our water system a potable or non-potable at that point? There's a whole lot of issues.
so what's their feeling on it?
Ask the director to...
Through the chair, I actually don't have a straight answer for that one. I'm sorry. As we were just talking about it prior, it's becoming an issue, but in terms of what our solution is, I don't have a solution right now.
Yeah, I mean, I get people coming to me saying, "Oh, what are you doing about all them caravans filling up water there?" They need water. No, it's a tap. I don't know.
We know
That's
if it's
why
a-
I'm asking.
We know if it's a mains tap or if it's
Mains.
It's mains. Yeah.
So it's a
Could
potable
put
water tap.
recycle there if we had.
No, it's
Okay,
mains.
mains.
It's not. You're not going to fill a caravan up with recycle.
No,
Right,
it is mains.
We haven't given you an answer, but we're on
Used
to
to
it.
do the
No, I
same.
think-
Yeah, well, I'll move on to my second question then.
All right.
3 times I've asked about, I know what the answer will be, but 3 times I've asked about the sealing of Pettit Road and I've been told it's next week. Well, still not done. When is it going to be done?
We were going to seal over all of it, weren't we, now that it had been repaired?
Yeah, that's right.
I'll take that on notice. Councillor Arthur, I don't have the answer for me for that one.
Councillor O'Hara,
O'Hara.
but you're right, we've been going to seal over that.
Well, the last meeting, actually, I asked and Joel said it was going to be done in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Always seems to be various.
I know our
slippages.
ceiling, I know we've just started. I think the R&I report said that we were starting our ceiling program in late March. And it should be finished towards the end of April, but I'll get a date and I'll review.
Sweet, that's all I've got.
Right, makes life easy. Thank you. Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just as I may, councillor O'Hara brought an interesting point, and someone might be able to help me. I'll ask a silly question: is where do caravans usually get their water from?
Service stations.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wondered about
through your chair. I mean, typically filling up with fuel, you could fill up with water at the same time, but apps like Wikicamps and those types of things will have areas where you can fill up for water, and then people will search and say, "Oh, that's a fill up point. I'll go there." So I'd imagine those locations are on Wikicamps as places that people can go and fill up.
They are, and some of the ones on the West Coast, you put coins in and you get 25 litres or something for $2. In Western Australia, it's most towns have got tokens. You've got to go to the post office or something, get tokens and get your water.
So this is an important part about our consideration around charging for whatever, that we have probably a tap and go service as we've started at Canalpin. Distant, the Eyre Peninsula and York Peninsula have got a consistent service for all sorts of external services, I'll call them, and then particularly for considering the run. Councillor Qualman, sorry, we've cut you off a bit.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr Mayor. I'll now get to my question, and through the chair to our Director of Roads and Infrastructure. When does council anticipate to do the major works to the car park opposite IGA at Tarlan Bend, please?
Through the chair, we're finalising the detailed design for that one, and the tender will be going out shortly. So the intention is that we'll be, as it's an LCRI funded project, it will need to be completed, or if not, significantly started before the end of the financial year.
Very soon.
Very soon.
Thank
Hasn't
you.
been a lake there for a long time, Councillor.
Not likely to be either.
We're going to go to Councillor Arthur, then Councillor Bland.
Cheers, Mayor, to the CEO. What is the status of the old folks' homes at Tintinara? We have, I believe, approached the minister about changing that status. I mean, there's one double unit that's been sitting there vacant for over 2 years now in an area which is screaming for accommodation.
So, through you, Chair, you will understand that we did have trouble filling them based on the criteria, and the staff member involved only spoke to me yesterday. We are still working with the state around the removal of the various legislations that sit on top of those facilities. It's still work in progress. I can't give you an update, but I will get you more information, but it's not complete.
Yeah. Can we, sort of prioritise that, I think? It really should be pushed, the minister should be pushed a little bit to get something done.
No.
Housing.
Through you, Chair, it's not from lack of activity on staff's part. These processes with the state do take a long time.
Councillor Bland.
Yeah, just to follow up, I'm constantly putting in requests for service around tidying up weeds on the southern entrance of Meningie. But the section is in fact now near the new guttering that has been put in, and the fill that we have brought in, talking about weeds and different types of fill. However, we now have 2-foot-high weeds there that are potentially, are going to spread, but also a whippersnipper wouldn't take long to do it. There is no way they can mow it on either side of that footpath. It just is going to mean they have to carry something, or we need the right apparatus to be able to deal with it. It looks untidy coming into a town. We're coming up to Easter, and I bring this up constantly. It's just looks awful.
This
It's
is
not the only area, but it's
This is the new guttering and footpath from
Yes.
South Terrace back towards the Scaltex.
Yeah, well, yes, that section just is the most,
Terrace to yours, to
You-
Baker Street.
yeah, that's right. Pretty much.
We'll get onto it, Councillor.
But it is something that is just one area, and it's the most obvious one coming into town. And we get a lot of traffic through there. We concentrate a lot keeping it on the northern end where we have watering systems. But the southern end doesn't, and it does need management.
But you do illustrate the point around spreading of weeds and that beautifully. Thank you.
do. And
knows
however,
where we got the fuel
it
from.
is about being on the list to be checked and done on a regular basis.
Okay. I'm more pleased that something is growing. That means you must have some rain.
I don't think so. It just came in the fill, it's not.
Excuse me,
I'm joking
Can
now.
I provide an update? I just got some information about green waste.
Yep.
So one of our officers is in discussions about potentially using some of our mulch for biochar creation. We've got meetings this week with some potential companies that might want to take that stock off us to biochar. So we'll provide some further information once but that might be a solution for the stockpiles that we've got.
I hope they're going to take it off us and not.
Well, hopefully they'll.
I'm still in questions without notice. Not for much longer. Where's that squeak coming from in this room?
I can hear it here. It's driving me nuts.
Everyone in.
Oh, right. Well, it's better than picking my bar, right?
Well, I was only going to say that if you're going to do it in the break.
Change
Okay.
habits.
I'm saying we finished questions without notice, motions with notice. We have any motions without notice, councillors? We have none. Thank you. We move to minute action list, I believe. Any questions in the minute action list at all? We move on. Thank you, that's completion of the ordinary part of the agenda. So for those watching the live stream, please be advised the meeting is about to move into confidence and the live stream will stop. Those who wish to view the end of the meeting, the video will be available on YouTube after today's meeting.